Hello and welcome to a lesson on painting galaxies. Alright. So first things first, we're gonna pick out our brush. I'm gonna use kind of a medium-sized brush here. Make sure it's completely rinsed off from my last paint. There we go. Kind of a medium-sized brush like that. Alright, I'm going to pick out my colors, and what I want to do is I want to pick analogous colors, which just means colors that are right next to each other on the color wheel or in a rainbow. I don't want to pick anything that is across from each other or complementary, because when I mix those I'm going to get muddier colors. So I'm going to start off with a nice bright yellow. And I'm just going to trace out where I want my galaxy to be. I'm going to make it kind of a wonky diamond shape going out towards the corners of the canvas. I'm going to make sure I'm blending those colors where they meet. So that I have a nice smooth transition between the two. And we'll go over this a couple times, so don't be too worried if your paint seems a little thin, or maybe your brush strokes don't look exactly the way you want them to, or your blend isn't just right. We'll be going over it a couple of times, layering in our paint. Again, with my colors, I'm keeping it red, orange, and yellow over here. But then, I don't want to put my red and green next to each other because they are complementary colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my green and I'm going to drop it in over here, next to my yellow. Because green's my favorite color. Why would I make a painting without it? Just don't want to put it next to my red. That would look very good. Now this green has some blue undertones in it, so I'm actually just going to put a pop of blue in here too. It's going to be a very rainbow galaxy. Now I just want to be careful because my orange and blue are kind of buttoned up against each other over here. But that's okay. As long as I don't work that area too much, I won't mix the paints together and it won't get too muddy. Alright. Next things next, I'm going to pick a bigger brush to go in and start painting in some of my void of space. So we're going to take our black and go in here. And I'm going to mix a little bit of dark blue with it as well, so that it gives my space a little more depth, and maybe even a little bit of purple. Could mix in some purple in there. So we're really going for a rainbow galaxy look today. But it'll just make the darks on the canvas a little richer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to paint in teeny tiny little circles and blend it out into the black. And if I start to get a little too muddy, my galaxy starts to get a little too dark, I'll just wipe it off on my napkin, pick up more clean paint, and go from there. But where your galaxy gets really thin or has very much contact with the edge, you want it to get a little muddy, you want that color to be darker. And to keep your paint from getting muddy, you can also work from the inside to the outside. Alright, so now that we've got all of our colors down for our galaxy and our background, we've got them blended together. I'm going to let my galaxy dry for a little bit and I'm going to start working on my background. I'm going to really darken up the edges that are furthest away from my galaxy. And I'm just going to be using regular black paint for that. And then as I get closer to where my galaxy edge is, I'm going to add in a little bit of purple and blue with the black paint to give the void of space a little bit more depth as it gets closer, because galaxies throw off light. So we want to make sure that's part of the painting too. Of course, it's still got to be dark to make our galaxy pop. And I'm not using strokes to go across it. I'm taking just the very tip of my brush and I'm just tapping at the canvas. I'll use strokes further out over here, but as I get in closer, I'm going to use, this is known as a stippling technique. And that just ensures that I get a little more of an organic edge. I don't want the edges of my galaxy to look like they were made by a ruler. Again, adding in just a little more purple. I'm taking the paint that's still wet on my galaxy and I'm just kind of bringing that back out into the darkness of space. Alright, and now that I have darkened up my background, I'll give you a closer look at some of those edges. Where it's all blended out. I'm going to go ahead and let this dry before we move on to the next step. Alright, so now that my galaxy has had a chance to dry just a little bit, there is still some wet paint on it, but that shouldn't matter too much as we move forward. I'm just going to fix up some of the areas that I'd like the colors to blend a little better or pop a little more. Alright, now that I've cleaned up my galaxy and given it a little bit more of an interesting shape, that was just improv, we are going to go ahead and we are going to add in our stars. So you're going to take one of your bigger brushes and you're going to dip it in your white paint just like that. Then you take one of your other brushes, doesn't matter which one, and you're going to hit the brush with the white paint on it, and that's going to splatter some white paint on your canvas and make your stars. go ahead and make sure you let that dry completely before you touch it or move it around, but then you have your finished galaxy.